let me into my zone. Let me into my zone. Let me into my zone. Please don't let me.
Telling you now this payback. So I tell you that. Ask them now what's Sage at. I've been going to the top and I got what they not, so I know that they hate that. But I'm on that. All these lanes gonna zone out. And all these lanes gonna tell you what I did and they twist and they bust till I fall out. But I know that, so I keep what I'm doing cause I own that. And I stay in the lab and I kill everything, but I don't ever move from my code. So yo, finally back in my home. I'm working like so much, that's why I had me a drum. Dance to my phone, now just leave it there, that's home. Ball in, can't beat me up cause I'm back in my zone now.
Having a great start and almost banging wheels.
Cause I'm back in my zone now.
Let's go, settle down.
And we're back for the pro event of today's racing. We've got the ATK Pro Series kicking off, and the name is fitting because this is the pro leg of the event. Of course, there are three versions, there are three categories, Am, Pro-Am, and Pro, and this is the main event of the day. Brought to you by Assetto Corsa, Kyalami 9 Hour, and Motorsport South Africa. The ATK Pro Series, the ATK Pro Series, is the premier event in South Africa to showcase the fastest in the land on sim racing. And of course, the game we're using today, not so sure if it's much of a game. It's a simulator and it's as real as it gets. Assetto Corsa Competizione. Today's racing will start shortly, but before we do that, let's find out who's in the commentary. We call it the commentary lounge these days because all of us are sitting at home, based at home in our lounges, enjoying the action and the racing. So far, it's been an action-packed day, and I'm joined by Marius Roberts in the commentary tower. Marius Roberts, how are you doing, sir?
Should I tell you what I'm wearing?
You could show us, but you also couldn't.
It's been an amazing day. It's my first time ever doing commentary on sim racing.
Yeah.
And you summed it up so beautifully in that introduction, just saying it's like it's not a game, it's a sim, and really it's been epic driving, fantastic production value. You swear you're watching the TV production of this. It's been really good fun. So I'm looking forward to the pros because the Pro-Am race was fantastic.
Yeah, and of course, we've got ATK has done a fantastic job with the production of this. And on the other side of the production team, or the technical side of things, on the sim side, we've got Jonathan Bentz. Jonathan Bentz, you're going to be handing fines today because I understand you're the steward as well.
Yep, I'm going to be watching these guys. That first turn, I'm worried about that. We've had some incidents there today. Not too many incidents other than that first turn, but yeah, we're eagle eyes are out.
Well, speaking of the first corner, someone that's got lots of experience lunging down the inside of that first corner in anything from a single-seater to a tin-top racer, Tasman Pepper, our international race car driver, here today with us in the I keep on wanting to say commentary tower. But that's not the case, is it? Tamsin, you're at home in your simulator watching the racing and giving us some technical insights.
Yeah, I can't be driving, so I'm sitting in my race seat pretending that I'm driving.
I think we all are sitting in our respective race seats pretending to be racing. Even I've been pretending to be driving to the shop because that's what I miss the most, just driving around. But here we are. And how have you found the racing so far? We've watched 2 heats so far. What a day so far.
Yeah, the racing so far has been pretty exciting. I mean, we've had a few incidents. We've had some overtaking maneuvers and some back markers, so I think we've been well entertained up until this point.
Well entertained, and as you said, the back markers have come into play, and I wonder if that's going to be the case now for this third race, because these guys, the pace should be a bit more well matched here, because these guys are the best of the best when it comes to sim racing. These guys, of course, qualified yesterday, and they are now our top racers in the weekend qualifiers. And they're back now for the next qualifying session to see who starts at the front of the grid today. Marius, so far we've had an exciting race. The top 3 from the last race, it was anybody's game, but we're going to find out now shortly whose game it's going to be, whose sim it's going to be in the final pro race of the day. We'll see you guys after the break. And we're back straight into the qualifying session. As I was saying earlier on, Jason Isherwood was your winner of the previous heat. Leon Leroux in second place. We had a Bentley right at the front, followed by 2 Aston Martins. But who is going to take this one as they make their way into the qualifying session? Now, 20 minutes of qualifying. These are the best of the best. Many Porsches on the grid, and we suspected that would be the case, Marius, that, as you said, the Porsches were dominant here at the 9 hour, which you were quite involved with a couple months ago. And here they are back again. Quite a few Porsches driving through this grid.
I don't want to make any predictions for anything because whatever we say, we've been proven completely wrong. And I think that's the joy.
Just speak for yourself there, Marius. I've been spot on the entire time.
Well, only because you're biased towards Bentley. That's the only reason.
Hey, I chose a winning car, guys.
Listen back to the stream, and you said you can't believe the Bentley's in front. No one expected that.
We've got it on tape.
Don't come and claim top honors at the end because people forgot what you said 50 minutes ago.
That's all been recorded anyways. It's all been recorded anyways.
But it's, you know what? This for me is what I love. I'm learning more and more about sim racing and Assetto Corsa in particular, and Jonathan's been great in giving us insight like that. But you know, these cars are set up to drive like the real cars drive. The characteristics are there, and they've even brought in things like balance of performance, because this is what makes GT3 racing so exciting globally, is that you've got all these manufacturers and all of them seem to be equally competitive at every single track they go to, even though by design, a car is going to be better at one track than another. Balance of performance brings everything back online. And that's what we've seen here. Yes, the Porsches are flipping great, a great all-rounder and a solid car at Kyalami. And this is the car that the guys are going to have to choose. Race 1, they stay with for all 12 rounds. So a critical choice. But as we've seen, we've had a Merc and a Bentley win. So is it going to be Porsche amongst the pros?
Well, we've got our eye on who everyone thinks could be the favorite for this race. That is the man in the Porsche over there, the number 71 Porsche, Zahir Esser, who has been absolutely on pace the entire, if you could call it a season of sim racing the last couple of months. Look at that, corner to corner on the absolute limit there. And you can immediately see the difference of how hard he's pushing versus what we saw earlier on. And this is just qualifying. He's on the ragged edge here, literally using the entire road as he goes through the Esser. Oh, gets it a bit sideways there. As we were just saying that, Zahir Esser gets a little bit squirrely there as he goes to the old tabletop, as they say. And now making his way down the mine shaft, one of the steepest corners, in motorsport. Isn't that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
It's a great corner. Not as good as it used to be, As you can really just nail this thing flat out now. They've made those changes, going a little bit longer into what was the bowl.
Yeah, it is a lot easier, but it's still a challenging corner because the next one, the bowl is actually so much wider now that there's so many different ways you can approach the corner that sometimes you struggle to actually get to the apex.
Sure. Speaking of apexes now, grabbing that apex, unlike the other Porsches we saw earlier on missing that inside apex on the final corner, Esser has no problem grabbing that apex there. And as I said, he's the man to watch. In second place, 1.3 seconds behind. That mistake could have cost him early on. 1:41 though is the fastest time by Versace in the Audi. And so far we see an Audi on pole position. It's amazing to see. They've been in every heat a different car on the front grid so far. So let's see if that's going to be the case. And it looks like it might just be with the Olifant now also in a Porsche straight into first with a 140.6. And the order's changing all the time.
Isn't it?
The order's changing. Yeah, these guys are way faster. These guys are the real deal. And that order on top there is changing all the time as Esser runs wide there through that right-hander. And now making his way further through up the hill now towards the Essers.
Straight away the thing you notice is that they use every single bit of track limit here. You know, they're not leaving any margin for error. And I suppose that is what happens. Like as will tell you, as a racing driver, as you get quicker and quicker and quicker, you don't have to put your car there; it just goes there naturally.
Yes.
You know, and that's the difference we're seeing now. There's no margin for error here. Every single bit of curb that can be used is being used.
I think it's very similar. Both of us have had experiences at the hill climb, Marius, and that first corner there, you know, with the one that the right-hander that you've got to kind of understeer through. The first time you take the corner, there's plenty space left on the exit. But as the weekend wears on, you start getting closer and closer to the edge.
Yeah, you get braver and braver.
Exactly. And these guys are at that point now. They've done enough laps. And because it's sim racing, you could do thousands of practice laps and it doesn't cost you a cent.
It also doesn't cost you damages. It doesn't cost you crashing off the end of the cliff at hill climb. So guys also tend to take more chances. But this is what I've really appreciated watching this, is that they approach the racing here like it is the real deal. We haven't seen any really stupid things. The guys take their craft very seriously, and I think that for me has been the biggest eye-opener. Like, these guys are legitimate racing drivers in the simulation world. Really
Indeed.
good.
Issa goes into first place there, no surprises, with a 140 dead. Rumor has it that he did a 39 in practice. So let's see how he does now. We got eyes on Issa now, and he is absolutely on the edge with that Porsche. And you can really see the attitude of the car is different to what we saw earlier on, that this really does look like a professional driver on the limit of his car.
Well, if you remember, Taz, what you were saying when we were commentating on the Pro-Am setup, a lot of guys will dial a bit of understeer into the car because it just gives you a consistent car for a long race like this. If it was a short 10-lap sprint, most of the guys will be dialing in oversteer, and the Porsche tends to rotate pretty quickly like that. So it's one thing having it set up like that for qualifying, which is great because it is faster, but maybe they change setup for race.
Yeah.
To give them a car that's going to be a bit more manageable for what is going to be a 30-lap race ultimately.
Well, it looks like it's a Porsche Cup race at the moment with the top 5 guys all running Porsches, and 8 of the 9 cars, in fact, 9 of the 11 cars here running Porsches. There's only one Audi in the 2 Audis in the mix there, in between what is a giant salad of Porsches straight from number 1 to number 10.
So I'm going to call it first, eh? I'm going with Porsche for this race.
I think it
guys.
might be a Porsche one.
You can't choose the same one, though. You're going to have to go for something different.
Sure.
But you know what, Taz? It is Mother's Day, so...
You're going to allow it. Okay, thanks, God.
It's your day.
Oh, Issa's done a 139. Issa's done a 139, and he's the only person today to have done a 139. And as the rumors have been spreading, seems like those rumors are true. Issa does what looks like a 139.9, I think it is on my screen. Yeah, it's a little bit small. And Leslie Oliphant in second position, also in a Porsche in the 40s. Yo, it's going to be close racing today, but so far Issa in the lead. Oh, it's number 8 Porsche runs wide there and heads straight into the pits.
You know what I think we could also see? I mean, every single race we've had, the good racing has been a little bit further back in the field. We had in the Pro-Am race, we had that runaway, with the Bentley putting on Jason Iselwood doing amazing stuff. Same thing with our amateurs. We had that runaway out front, but the races were around 2nd to 10 was where the action was happening.
Yeah.
Look how close it is on the timing boards here. Everyone is super, super close.
So close on the timing boards, and I think, as you said, the action really was happening a little bit further back because the front runners kind of separated quite early on. From 4th onwards, going back, there was plenty action in the previous heats, and I suspect it's going to be no different here, but let's see how close the race is going to be for the top 5. I'm interested to see now that they've all got the same cars.
I also wonder a little bit about the fact that, he's gone and put that time down, which is impressive, insane. 1:39, pretty early on in the session. There's still 11 minutes to go. That just puts all the other drivers under pressure as well. And I know we're thinking it's a 50-minute race, there's lots of time, but qualifying is critical to draw that first blood and to give you that confidence. So, he hasn't taken time to ease into this qualifying. He's blasted it right from the start. So I think the other drivers are going to be under pressure to try and find something. So expect to see some errors in qualifying.
But that's the thing, the pressure that you speak of, it's a real thing because so early on he's been dominant, and now these drivers are wondering, where am I going to find a half a second? We're supposed to be the top some races in the country, and we're all supposed to be close, but here at Heat 1, S has already set the benchmark so high. What are the other guys going to do to try and catch up within, they've got 10 minutes now to figure this out.
You know what I've also really appreciated chatting with Tasman's brother Jordan and Calvin and Sheldon a couple of weeks back, just around sim racing and what's happening, and them not obviously being able to race live, and now they're in the online racing stuff. And Calvin was saying how flippin' nervous he was leading out one of the races. Like, he has a guy that's won Nürburgring 24-hour back in 2017. You got like Jordan who won Bathurst earlier this year. That is real pressure. It's the real thing. There's no Control-Alt-Delete here. And how they're flipping telling you, like, they're more nervous on a rolling start in the sim than they are in the real car. It's
but
crazy.
It's true, though. Like, I did an online sim race a we were again just a whole bunch of South Africans, and my foot actually started shaking at the start of the race. I'm like, what is going on? Like, you do get, like, for some reason you seem to get really nervous, like just doing just these type of races.
Yeah, well, I think as a professional driver yourself, and as professional drivers, you're competing against people that aren't professionals, and they've got everything to prove because everybody wants to beat the pro driver. Everybody wants to say that they beat Tasman Pit. So now you've got all of that pressure, whereas you could have just come off a win in a real car. You're coming up against these guys that want to take you out effectively. So the nerves are very real. As we look at the times, they're 139.945 for Essa, and then Leslie Oliphant, 0.4 of a second further back down the road with the third place man that we've got eyes on now, almost half a second off. So far, Issa, and I know 0.4 of a second is not that much, but to do that in qualifying out of the back, knowing that he's the favorite as well going into this has got to put him on the front foot for the race.
Well, I think 4/10 is quite a lot. As like the Pro-Am class, the Bentley was only 0.2 ahead, and look how far he ended up winning by. So I think if Essa sticks with this and puts his head down at the beginning of the race, I think he can walk away with it.
Yeah, well, some people are saying that Zahir Essa is exceptionally consistent, but Leslie Oliphant, if he is going to stay in second position, it's going to be. What are your thoughts on this one, Tasman? He's going to have to put pressure on very early on to make sure something happens, doesn't he?
Oh, he's going to have to be one of those who takes a London to turn one kind of deal, you know, to try and get ahead at the start. Because I think if Essa gets ahead, I think he's going to check out.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's also been interesting, guys. If you look back to the last two races we've had off the rolling start, it's been for us as guys familiar with real racing, it's been penalty, because the guy in second has kind of been leading
the line first,
because I understand Jonathan was explaining to us they've got that green box that they've got to stay within. So maybe if he lines himself up properly and actually gets a jump, it's Porsche versus Porsche. The drag race turn one will be close. You know, you're not sitting with split brands like we've had with the other races. So that's what he needs to do. He needs to lead out of turn one.
Well, S has just gone a little bit faster. He's gone about a 10th faster now, and he's using the whole track there. Absolutely on the limit. I mean, looking at the way that car's moving like a car that's on the edge. It's moving like a car that's being utilized absolutely to the max as he goes through the S's, right then left. And
left then right.
I knew that. I was watching the inverted screen. As I said it, I was like, wait a second. Left then right as he goes into the left-hander going down the mine shaft now in that Porsche.
You can try going right and then left.
No, that's not going to work, eh? That's not going to work.
To main road to Kyalami. It's actually quite cool.
Yeah, we saw that earlier on. A couple of guys tried to go right and instead of left, and we saw that worked out for them. These guys keeping it a bit more tidy now. I've got to say the pro guys quite a bit more tidy around the circuit so far.
And quite a lot closer. I mean, the top 23, they are within 2 seconds. So.
Sure. That is insane. Top 20 guys within 2 seconds. And Leslie Oliphant now in second position. We've got Jason Abschmeyer.
I know Jason very, very.
Oh, yeah?
I haven't had too much to say about him because we actually kind of go back the way. He's always been big time into his racing, and one of those speed stars he actually competed and ended up winning. And,
wow.
Race. It was like celebrities, and then we opened up to public, and the final season the race for win was at Swartkops in little Polo Cup cars.
I remember that.
And pouring with rain and inverted grid, and you know he had been a little bit fastest. He came through, and that ended up going on a trip with me overseas to some World Rallycross action. Big fan of Bakarud, and a really talented, legitimate racing driver. Always done well from a sim perspective. That's where he applies his trade, because racing's expensive. Obviously, sim racing may be a little bit more affordable, but then also not. We spoke about Pro-Am race, what guys are paying for their rigs, and what a difference that potentially does make to their ability as well, you know.
But that is the story for a lot of sim racers, myself included. I started racing sims a couple of years ago because it's the most accessible thing. I mean, you can get in for as little as 5,000 rand, you get yourself a little steering wheel, and now you're racing against guys all over the world. And another person that we're looking at now, that is Bashir Jadwat in the 83 car over there. One of the top sim racers in the country, also one of ATK drivers. He's driving for ATK this weekend. Team Ghostworks, I think it is. And again, a very, very talented racer, and someone that if in another lifetime should and probably could be racing at a very high level. So watch out for him as well. I think he's going to be one of the guys to watch. But it does seem like all of these guys are at a blistering pace at the moment. 139.870 the fastest.
What I think they should do is, after our 12 rounds, the 12th round being at the Kyalami 9-hour event in November, I think just for a giggle, they should give these guys off-thumb controllers like the old days.
Oh, yes.
We have a look, because it's such a laugh, with all these famous guys like Max Verstappen and guys all getting into sim racing now. Lando Norris, who comes from a sim background. It was just hilarious seeing guys like Jacques Villeneuve cleaning up. I asked him what was he racing with. He said, no, just with a thumb controller.
I cannot believe Jacques Villeneuve got involved as well. One of the old school Formula 1 drivers just getting into the mix there.
I think you've got to. I mean, at the moment, it's just, wow. Actually, motorsport fan savior, sim racing.
Oh, yes.
We've said this a few times during the day that, sim racing has always been at this amazing level, but this is a launch pad. With COVID-19 forcing racing to ground to a halt, I just think having these guys that in the gaming community are superstars, but to have recognized in a mainstream environment because they are now having people watching because Max Verstappen's racing and Lando and all these guys really just puts sim racing on a form that is more mainstream.
Well, it's the only motorsport that you can watch nowadays, isn't it? If you're scrolling through YouTube, and thanks to me being involved with the ATK Pro Series, when I scroll through YouTube now, all I see is racing. Yeah, virtual racing. I'm looking at the actual live stream on the Twitch server as well, and man, it looks like an actual race. It really does. It looks like these guys are racing. You wouldn't know, as you said earlier on, Mari, if somebody walked into your lounge now, they wouldn't know that you're watching a simulator.
But it's so realistic, isn't it? And every category is getting so involved as well. I mean, you've got the V8 supercars doing their events, and
New series too, Taz. Aren't you guys starting one?
yeah, we're going to be starting one soon, so that's going to be quite interesting and fun. We've got a couple of rounds.
Tasman, one of the things you said about your last season of Formula W is that you didn't get much access to the car, unlike some of the other ladies that did get access to those cars. Do you think this is going to even things out a little bit for you now that you're going to be able to do some virtual laps in that car?
Well, like a lot of the girls were testing all the time
Yes.
in the car, where I didn't. Obviously, we don't have an F3 here in South Africa, so the only way I was learning the track was actually by driving on the sim. So that was the only way that I was actually getting involved in sim. I was purely just using it for testing, just to get used to the tracks and stuff. And now, we're going to be racing against each other on on the sim. So yeah, I mean, it definitely helped me prepare for each race. I mean, still, when you get in the race car, it's a little bit different now. So
And there are real consequences to making mistakes.
yeah, like I crash plenty on the sim. So when I get to the actual racetrack, I know that there's certain corners I gotta, be more aware of. But it definitely helps prepare you for the racing.
It's just insane watching the Audi go around you now. Look at the way it bucks and bobs, and you can see the suspension compressing and decompressing. It looks like an actual car, especially this 94 car, the way it's going through those corners over there.
It's amazing. I mean, in Tasman, I'll tell you, chat to Jordan. I mean, he's helping Bentley develop their simulator. Chat to Sheldon.
Oh, big drift there.
That's a nice catch.
Very nice catch.
Chat to Sheldon. I mean, what they're doing now is set up time when they're going to a new track. They're actually working on their setups for the car on simulators. So when they go to a track, they're not starting from zero. So it tells you something about how far the tech has come, that this literally is able to translate to the track. Sure, like Tasman said, you're not going to feel certain things. You're not feeling it through your butt. There are consequences. There are always going to be things that do make it different. But it's got to the point now that it's really getting so close.
Well, qualifying's almost over, and Zahir Issa, no surprises, they're still in the top spot with a 139.870. Leslie Oliphant in second position, Patterson there in third. It's an all Porsche front grid there. Can you believe that? so far 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all Porsches, and 8 and 10 Audi, Lamborghini in the 11th position over there with Greyling behind the wheel. But this is an all Porsche affair. I wonder if it's going to be working out for them for the rest of the season, though.
But you know what? I think this is a difference because we're dealing with the pros, and the pros obviously spend a lot of time on the game. They're hedging their bets with the car that's going to be the most consistent throughout. We're not seeing nearly as much variety in the lineup in terms of manufacturers. So,
yeah. And this is what I was. This is exactly what I was concerned about. That once you choose that one car, you can't regret it later on. Well, that's it from us for this session. We'll be back after this break with more action from the ATK Pro Series.
Yeah. Siege. Riley. Taz. Yeah. Set me free and give me death, there ain't no other choices. When I lay down and go to sleep, I keep on hearing voices. Little whispers in my head, man, is you fake or loyal? Find no water, death is sign, baby, pick your poison. These little demons living underneath my bed, creeping. Know the real monster lives above them all, sleeping. That subtle breathing in your closet every single evening. Thought you never see me again, looks can be deceiving. When they hear the sound of the drum, they'll be saying, oh Lord, here they come. Yeah, here we come.
We take play seriously. That's why ATK chooses Omen by HP and Windows 10.
Here we come.
Well, that was qualifying, and the guys are straight on the grid. The number 71 car of Essa right up the front there. Leslie Oliphant next to him in another stunning looking Porsche in the number 8 car. It's an all Porsche front row. In fact, it's an all Porsche first three rows. Name of them. This is welcome to the Porsche Cup, in case you didn't know. Flippin' hell, did we expect this? I knew the Porsches would do well, but I had no idea that this would be the case. The drivers have all selected them, and these are the guys that I'm sure they've gone through hours and hours of testing to find out which car has got the most advantage as we go sit in car with what I'm sure is a nervous Essa. I mean, just look at that rearview mirror. He's got a mirror full of cars all wanting that position that he's got right now.
You know,
calm and collected.
you know what would be cool, Jonathan? I mean, we were talking earlier about, you toss it in qualifying, you make one mistake, you can just reboot and land yourself back in the pits, and that might be something that the game developers will incorporate. So you pay for that. You've got to loop all the way back and get into pits. Wouldn't that be awesome as well if practice time is limited? Everyone knows Kyalami, but the other circuits, you limit the number of sessions you're allowed to have, like they do in many of the races.
Yeah.
Very interesting stuff, because then a driver's got to figure out setup with limited time practicing.
Yeah. I suppose, that would really add a realism aspect to things, but how to enforce that sort of thing, the game developers would have to work that out.
No, of course. It's just,
Yeah, with these, with the sim competitions, I remember competing in a 24-hour race a couple of years ago. We had 3 weeks of setup. I mean, just lap after lap. By the end of that, I was so tired of that Lamar circuit on Gran Turismo. I didn't want to look at it again for another year. But I would imagine these guys have been putting hours and hours and hours into getting these cars right and dialed in and ready for action. And the Porsche, quite clearly, is the right choice for the Audi drivers. Got that target on the back of that Porsche in front of him. The 2 Audis there in the top 10. But that's it. Other than that, it's an all Porsche affair.
Yes, when you're talking about set up for a 24-hour race, like for me, I would think like it's a comfortable bed, lots of food and snacks. That's my setup to get that right.
Yeah, we had lots of food and snacks, but I tell you what, it wasn't comfortable,
I'm feeling that right now in this.
Yeah, it's a lot of sitting down. Yeah, you're not used to sitting still.
No, exactly.
But you know what's so cool? I mean, you chat like chatting with your buddy Tasman, and saying like in the beginning days, you had a 24-hour race or like a 12-hour race, and you don't go and rest because you want to make sure what's my teammate doing? How's he going? He said now it gets to the point where you trust that your teammate is going to do what he needs to do. There's nothing you can do about it. They go and get downtime. They go and sleep because you become experienced in racecraft. I think key here now as well, is that experience. These are the pros. You see the jump up in lap times, how close, 2 seconds separating the entire field. This is the real deal, man.
This is just magnificent. And just to give you an idea, I mean, Bashir Jadwat is one of the fastest guys in the country. I've seen him in action. He is shatteringly fast on this game and on a simulator. And he is currently in 9th position. I thought he would easily be in the top 4, maybe even front of the grid. But it just shows you how competitive this class has become. And Heineke, also another man to watch. Heineke we saw doing very well in practice earlier on this week. So he's in 4th position. They're also in a Porsche. So, you know, I think it's going to be anybody's race depending what happens in the first couple of laps. But Esser's got the pace. So he's the man to watch at the moment as they come through quite fast there. The guys at the back of the grid trying to catch up.
There might be some carnage before the start.
Yeah, I was a bit worried there.
But also a lot less of the amateur weaving and more accelerate hard on brake, generating heat through the tires through the braking cycle. We've spoken about this a few times, and that experience coming through here with the guys too.
Indeed. As we now make our way towards the last couple of corners here. I think this is the final corner. Yep, final corner now before the start finish. And just look at that Porsche. It looks so good. The number 1 flashing on the Esser car over there. Let's see if he gets the start right. Unlike the cars we saw earlier on, the pole sitters have always messed up the start. But let's see what Esser does now. Esser and Leslie Oliphant next to each other side by side. The race is about to start. Side by side, Esser does a good start there. Esser's in the lead. He's got the outside line for the first left-hander. Oliphant starting to fall behind now. Patterson catching up. Heineke also in the mix there. Esser goes defensive right down the inside there. He's going to take that inside line and keep it there. We've got the number 5 car trying to dive down the inside. Oh, number 5 car goes very deep, knocks what looks like Patterson a little bit wide. They touch, but it's not too much carnage as they make their way through safely the first corner.
Geez, I want to find out who it was that dived, curb and everything on the inside, really muscling in and gaining a few positions. I couldn't actually see who that was. One of the Porsches.
I think it was the first they just hit the wall.
Yeah. There's some action over there.
Looking on the replay on the inside, it was a red Porsche.
One of the red Porsches there. And just after that was another incident as Esser starts to pull up a slight lead over Oliphant, Leslie Oliphant and Absmeyer there. All top 3 guys. There was some carnage there after the second corner. Over the curbs goes the Porsche. Red Porsche, yellow Porsche, all of them collecting each other there. I'm not quite sure which. This is the Porsche Cup here by the looks of it. As Esser makes his way into the tabletop and down the mine shaft. And that's the Porsche we saw in the number 124 Porsche there. Claessen's up to 5th place.
We've got a lot of replays coming because there was that through the view section, and then obviously onto the old start finish as well. A couple of people ended up in the old pit wall. So lot of action. This live view is just so amazing because it literally does put you in the racer's seat. And this is what I love. I mean, you know, it's not just sim racing, it's the production that goes in this whole show, the camera angles. And I mean, our team have done a great job getting this thing set up just right so that people that are watching get a legitimate experience like they would be watching this race, Kyalami 9 hour on Motorsport.
Well, I don't think I'd be remiss by saying Daniel and the guys in the production team are doing a fantastic job here with this live stream. And I mean, look at this, the eye in the sky catching the action there. Claessen's on the brakes there, a little bit late there, and still managing to stick with the rest of the team. It's nice to see an Audi in the mix as well there, with an Audi in 5th position. So Audi mixing it up with the Porsches there. But other than that, it's all Porsches up front.
Alaric Enslin, I mean, I was just reading his bio. He's actually one of the test drivers for Coach Dave Perrell, who obviously a legitimate racing driver and setting up a whole sim driving academy and training course. So he knows his way around. Didn't have the greatest qualifying, but he certainly made some pace, some positions up to 6th now. So looking like he's got a well set up car.
It looks like it, and he's also won and competed in other sim competitions. So let's see how he does here at the ATK Pro Series so far. He's in 6th position just behind the car we've got eyes on now. That's the Claessen's car over there. But he's chosen an Audi when everybody else has chosen a Porsche. And you know what? That's got to play on his mind a little bit. If all the quick drivers have chosen one car, you've got to wonder, either I've got an ace in the hole or I've made a bad choice.
Yeah, but I mean, if he can just get a decent result here and get some good points, you never know how good the Audi's going to be at the rest of the tracks coming.
This is true. This is very true. With Silverstone coming up next, similar to this one, we still don't know how these cars are going to perform here. Jonathan, do you think the Audis are going to come into their own later on in the year?
Oh, definitely. I think that Silverstone, they'll already be a lot stronger. The Audi is very good at Kyalami, so I am surprised that it's not more in the mix, but it's turning out to be an interesting battle up front there.
Well, he's still within striking distance. He's got the number 124 Porsche in his sights there of Claessens. And he's still very much within striking distance. But these guys now just running nose to tail. And
amazing though. Geez, have a look at Zahir already. You know, he's pulled up just over 2 second gap, and that's nearly 3 seconds now over Leslie, and that's what we're worrying about. But it is kind of following the trend of what we've seen. Get a clean start, keep your nose out of everyone else's messy business, and you can manage your own pace. It's these guys that are dogfighting and racing at the back that tend to fall over each other, you know. So
that's always the case, isn't it? If you're trying to maintain your own position and the leader or leaders start to get away, there's not much you can do because you've got a guy right behind you wanting to do the same thing. And that's exactly what's happening now. All of these guys are going to start tussling with each other. And Zahir is just going to be waving in his rearview mirror as he goes into the distance.
Also nice to see. We haven't had a Ferrari running up front, so it's nice to have a Ferrari in the top 10, as well as a good showing from the Lamborghini, Yaku Kralin driving that one. So nice to see some other cars mixing it up. But like we've said, at the end of the day, it's the car's one thing, but it's a combination between car, driver, and crucially, getting that setup just right for the circuit.
As we go on board here with Bashir Jadwan now, having a look at that Audi we were just talking about earlier on, Enslan Audi, and Bashir, the ATK Pro driver, he's representing ATK at this event, and he, as I said, I've seen him in action. He's exceptionally fast. But let's see how he does up against his Audi. He's going to want to have a look now. But behind him, as you were saying earlier, Marius, he's got an Audi to worry about in his rearview mirror.
Now, listen, you watch that train of cars coming out of Ingwe onto the start-finish straight. I mean, that is as good as what it's going to be when you're watching these pro drivers at the 9 hour in November.
Yeah.
Literally the visuals, the way the cars are presenting themselves through the corners, the way they're settling, the lines the drivers are taking. It's just so exciting to be a part of.
It's so exciting to watch. And look at that. Both of them absolutely curb to curb, using the entire road. I mean, placing those cars within millimeters of the track edge there. And that is the fastest way around the circuit. These guys certainly are doing that. Bashir getting a little bit sideways there and then picking up some understeer through the S's now as they make their way up to the munch.
I'd say, as you were mentioning it to us earlier, I mean, just how critical the S's really are. And I mean, we've lost one set of compound corners when they did the rework and got rid of Nashua 1 and 2. But the S's again is one of those corners where it's not about your first corner, but it's about getting the second one right, because it's that long climb up the hill. These guys are nailing it.
I think Bashir's going to have a look. Sorry about that. I think Bashir's having a look soon. Oh, look at that. He's right up behind that Audi now, but he's getting slowed up. And the Audi behind him, that is Fasaki right behind him. It's turned into a three-way battle between these three now. He was saying...
sorry, I thought there was going to be a move. No, it's so easy to go in really quick into the first S, and then obviously it's going to just mess you up going up the hill. So you have to stay a little bit more composed to the first left, keep it as far left as possible so you're able to get the right-hander flat. And if you mess it up as a lot of people do, you lose so much time because you got to climb up a hill. And if someone else is getting it flat and you're not, you can just...
That's it. That time is gone. As they say, that if you lose 1 kilometer an hour at the beginning of the straight, that speed, it doesn't belong to you anymore.
No, it's double the time at the top.
Yeah, it's gone. And as they say, the sacrifice corners are so difficult.
I suppose Crowthorne's become a bit like that. You know, turn 1 now.
Oh, Bashir tries to look down the inside there. Oh, he gives him a touch. Gives Enslan a touch. Oh my goodness me, Bashir. With a slight nudge there, I'm wondering what Jonathan Bentz is going to have to say about that.
Enslan's fault to be fair.
Why do you say that?
Because he saw that the maneuver was coming and he tried to close the door, and
was he next to him though, Taz? You know, that's what I mean. I look at that.
Yeah.
It's a bit
It's
far
hard
back.
to
Here
say,
comes the
but you
replay.
can't really change lanes under braking. I mean, that guy's already committed to the move.
That was close. I'm interested to see what the team on the steward's desk have to say about this. Hugh Judd was usually the content professional.
Taz, can we disagree?
No.
Is Jonathan with us at the moment? He says What are your thoughts on that so far? Are you going to be investigating that incident?
Definitely will be. It is on my to-do list. It's probably about 10 down the list at the moment.
So obviously there's a lot of action happening further back that we're not catching on the screen over here. Are the guys being a bit naughty further back?
There's a fair amount of paint scraping, which is actually okay. I can just tick that off the list and move on, but I still need to review absolutely everything. So.
Yeah, of course, we've got to make sure the racing stays clean and fair as we now have eyes on McCall, who's half a second down on the third place man, Absmeer. And the top three guys now separated by about 5 seconds, top four by about 6. And Bashir Jadwat now trying to hunt these guys down.
Well, it's quite cool. I just picked up, Morgan and Fasahi, is. They're actually both from Clarkstorp. I mean, maybe they're sitting in the room next to each other. Maybe
could do.
Clarkstorp, but I'm assuming they're mates and they're in the top 10 and having a good little ding dong battle here. So it's just cool that these are guys from all around the country sitting. We are sitting in different places. I'm PE, you Cape Town, Taz is in Joburg, and yeah, we're doing what we love. It's really cool.
I think we failed to mention that we all literally spread across the country at the moment. Sitting in my lounge, I've got my slippers on, my home slippers on. I'm not gonna lie, trying to get comfortable here watching the racing.
Marius is making coffee,
and he did offer to tell us what he was wearing. So Marius, for the ladies out there, ex-Mr. South Africa.
No. Don't make it up here. I was actually missing South Africa. You know what the amazing thing is? I hope they're not going to make us start streaming our commentary on Twitch, because then I'm going to have to start getting really dressed up. We've seen some of those horror movies on Zoom meetings.
Oh, it can go horribly south as we see Insulin now all the way down in 18th position, trying to fight his way back, and another pink Porsche now. But this pink Porsche looks the part, I've got to say.
Yeah, he hasn't got those rims.
I think we're going to see Insulin on a charge here as he goes down the inside of the number 24 Porsche and takes that position back up into 17th position. So fast as Insulin, but unfortunately all the way back down now in 17th position. He's going to have a hard charge in his hands now, and I'm sure he's got a bit of the old red mist under the helmet there, isn't it?
Oh, but I think maybe the guys also realize that this series is run super professionally. So, with Jonathan issuing things, he's kind of saying, you know what, I'm going to trust the officials to do what the officials need to do. I'm going to get back into the race. I've got 38 minutes to go. It's a long time still. And critical is to score points. So,
just look at that pace, man. Look at that pace. You can clearly see Enslin is head and shoulders above these guys here down in 16th position. He's so easily catching up, and through the S's now bouncing over those curves as he tries to get past the number 2 Porsche of Buck over here. As Buck tries to go on the outside, Enslin has a look down the inside and easily gets past.
I even love that little drain they've got, Taz, on the second S. When you can actually see the car gets unsettled when the guys take that bit of curb. I mean, it's so realistic.
It is, and like when I drove the track, it is really realistic. I mean, some of the curbs you hit, it bounces you so much like it does in real life. So I mean, the sausage curb you can see for yourself.
Speaking of the sausage curb, they're just going through there now as we go back to the leader here. And as you said, these tracks are designed with lasers so that they can get every little bump. And when you look at the way the cars bounce over the road, they've clearly engineered the bumps into the course. Now, whether those bumps are all 100% accurate, I don't know. But it does seem to me that they've managed to get quite a lot of that to the game.
It looks like they have, actually. Like, if you watch him coming down the mine shaft, it's exactly the same.
Just before the turning point, yeah. Exactly. As they turn through the mine shaft there's a bit of a bump there as he goes through the S's now. And so neat is that car.
It's incredible. That's what I'm saying. If somebody walks in and just looks at this now, that is exactly how these cars represent themselves in the real world dynamically. It's incredible.
It's beautiful, and also I was watching another game the other day, and the car was moving around the circuit quite unrealistically, and this is not the case. Even us not playing the game, just we effectively watching some sort of replay. It looks very realistic, and it feels even more so from the in-car view that these guys are experiencing.
And I tell you, the only thing that I would love is that soundtrack. It feels like I'm watching Formula E at the moment.
Yeah, that's the virtual commentator's curse, because we can't. We've got to hear each other's voices instead of the engines, which in your case is not too bad. But Tasman, I'm not so sure about that.
Yeah, I don't like not hearing anything.
I know.
I go by sound, eh?
Yeah. But here we go back to the front, or near the front of the field. Absmeer in the third position over there in the number 90 car, 1.1 seconds behind second place. Oliphant 6.4 seconds down as we cut to McCall in fourth place. And that third and fourth place battle, I think, is going to start unfolding now as he starts to get closer to Absmeer. Both of them driving Porsches, and both of them going to be on it. It's really one of those things when you start hunting someone down, you need to focus on getting the car down the road, but at the same time, you get your eyes locked on this car in front of you and judging the distance and how close you are and when that opportunity is going to present itself. What do you think is going through McCall's head right now as he looks at us? We're just 7/10 down the road within striking distance short.
Well, he's obviously seeing that he's closing the gap.
Yeah.
He knows that he's going to start away. He's already pushing as it is. So there's nothing worse than you trying the best that you can and the person behind you is closing up on you every time.
Nerve-wracking stuff as Essa tries to get past the back marker, looks like it. Essa being held up by one of the Ferraris and not being let past. We go to the bottom live cam over there, the Ferrari holding him up, and Essa now tries to go for the overtaking maneuver. This is not good for Zahir Essa. As he gets to the tabletop there, he's going to try and swing down the inside, but doesn't manage to do so. The Ferrari doing well to hold him off, but that is not ideal.
But it's not doing well at all because so for me, that car should move out the way. It's not his race. You know what I mean?
Yeah, fair and there.
Actually taking block lines, defensive lines, like he's fighting for position.
Not ideal at all. Not ideal at all. As we go to Morgan McCall now.
Taking him hard to get past. He's still not past him. Not cool.
Okay, we just got confirmation that isn't in fact Essa. That's Farrant over there. My mistake. That is the other car with the same livery. That's Farrant over there. So that is for position. So those two. So sorry, Mr. Ferrari driver over there.
We apologize for being mean about you.
Please continue.
I was probably abusing him. Block him as much as...
Doing the right thing. But look, this is a race we've got. You look at that. Nose to tail. Farrant there in the number 213, and that's staying there in the Ferrari. 11th position. This is 4th position. 11, 12, and 13 right behind each other.
Marcus Stein doing a good blocking job. I was seconds ago, and I'm thinking, Jesus, guys, with some racecraft.
This is some good racing up further down the grid here. These guys are really close to each other, and the move is going to come soon. Where do you think the best place will be to do that move, Tasman?
Probably now at the top of West Bank.
Let's see, he's got the
run. But he's already gone defensive.
He's got the run. He's gone defensive, but the Porsche's got the run so far. Porsche breaks very late. He's got the outside. Ooh, he's going around the outside. Beautifully done so far. Can he keep it though? As they make their way down the mine shaft, the Porsche's right next to the Ferrari now. We can't see the Ferrari's nose is coming out in front as they're going through the mine shaft side by side. Who's going to back out as they come into the right hand? And now the Porsche's got the line. The Ferrari holding on. They're late on the brakes for the Porsche. It's very close side by side. Fantastic racing here. But the Ferrari makes a mistake and now gets overtaken by two Porsches. Two Porsches now getting past the Ferrari, and that is what it's about. Some fantastic racing here.
That was really nice from the Ferrari, though. He left him really nice room.
I don't think he's going to think that was a nice move, though. He just gave up two positions.
Oh, he didn't give it up. He tried.
He just gave two positions there, unfortunately, as Wesley Farrant now starts to gallop into the distance, and the Ferrari not able to hold him off for much longer there.
That was beautiful to watch because they were set up a few corners back. He had a run at him a lap previously up at the tabletop. Also tried going around the outside, and the second time around he got it nailed. That was really good. But Taz, so true. Gave him space, kept it fair.
I mean, he easily could have run him off coming down the mine shaft or anything like that. So.
I'll be honest, I might have given him a little bit of a shoulder there, just a little.
I probably would have done the same.
Exactly.
But battle is closed right up onto the back of Leslie Oliphant. So for second position is heating up, and obviously more balls come along right as well. So this is going to turn into a three-way battle for second position. So these guys all know each other. They race together a lot, so they know each other's ability. I mean, I know Jason is pretty cool. He's not a hot-headed guy at all. So I know he will enjoy this pressure.
Yeah, such clean racing so far for this Pro Series we've got going with the ATK Pro Series, of course. Brought to you by the 9-hour Kyalami 9-hour MSA and ATK Arena, and the game we're using, simulator, is of course Assetto Corsa Competizione, one of the most advanced simulators in the world. And just look at that camera angle, one of my favorites, Marius. I know you love it too, mate. The eye in the sky.
Oh, because it just gives you, I mean, especially if there's a close battle, you can actually just see the draft working with the guys in the slipstream. You can see how they're lining up, and also the different lines that people take through corners, because there are now some sections here, the new bowl, and obviously turn one Crowthorne as well. There are different lines that you can take through there, so it's nice to see that visually. Jonathan, I noticed Jonathan hasn't helped Tasman decide who was right, because I haven't seen any drive.
Yeah, we're still trying to figure this out.
He's probably on 5 now.
Which incident?
One and two. Clubhouse.
I may have to. I've been looking at that one now, and I think I may have to defer that one to post race, because it's
that close. Yeah.
I just don't think he wants to let Marius know that he's wrong.
You see, I don't know if I should speak about it publicly.
Is it? Have we got drama going on here? Have we got drama already?
Yeah,
sure.
You know what the cool thing is, Taz? I think that is one of those things where, you know, that is what makes it so difficult. If I see a guy coming up in the lead, I can choose to take an earlier turn in, which is what he did. You know, so it's like, it's a tricky one. So I don't think it's
I do think that Bashir, that was a racing incident for the most part, but the angle that we saw at that, and we all know that the camera angle makes all the difference. And the angle we saw was from the front, so we couldn't really see how close Bashir was managing to get alongside. So if we get another camera angle, then maybe we can figure that out. But we're gonna have to leave that one to the race controller now. The stewards are gonna have to look at that one and figure that out.
No, but 100% he wasn't alongside. But I think for Tasman, what she felt was that he moved across and took a slightly different line, block off that. Obviously, Bashir's running in with extra pace and just tapped him on the rear 3/4 there, put him into that spin. But it's like, it's hard, because for me, it's like if I was there, it's a cut pass. If he's not, then he's got to follow my leader, you know?
Yeah,
exactly.
Without commenting specifically on this incident, I would say that, you know, when you're pushing the car to the absolute limit, you're braking at the latest possible point. Now, if a driver is wanting to make a dive up the inside, he's braking slightly even later. So it means that if somebody changes line under braking, the other driver doesn't have extra brakes to slow down more.
Yeah.
So it is slightly tricky. I think we're going to need some more opinions on this one.
Well, we now have eyes on the number 3 car here, and behind him, a couple of battles taking place there. But the Avsmeer car there, that's the number 90 car, currently in second position. Start to put a nice gap on third, but the battle for third continues there with McCall and Oliphant.
Sorry, Ernest, I don't think you saw that. I don't know what happened to him, but he came out of Sunset and just like almost moved over like he was a back marker and let the guys through. Gone and lost 2 places. Morgan's also come through, and that's Leslie. We can see in the back of picture there. So I'm actually not too sure what happened.
I think we missed that. I think you were right. Oliphant was running right up front there, and there was a battle for second place, but he's now lost that battle and is all the way down.
Literally moved over going to Clubhouse and let them through, and then had a bit of a moment coming out of Clubhouse trying to defend against Morgan. So I don't know what happened there. Going back that incident, I mean, Clubhouse is such a tricky corner because it's not your traditional heavy under braking, now moving to block. You know, it's like you run a slightly different line, which is sneaky. So flip, let's see what happens. But it's the racing.
Wait and see now, and hopefully he can try and claw that back as we once again look at the second place car, 9.7 seconds behind the leader. This is a one-horse race so far in the pro category, with 9 seconds between the first place and second place man, third place and fourth place. Now the battle continues as Oliphant has relegated himself from second to fourth, all within of 2 corners. He's going to be very disappointed now. The visor's down, and he's going to try and catch up once again.
I'm tracking Alaric Enslin from the instance. So he's made a few places. He's down in 15th, but still, a long way to go. But there's still 26 minutes in the race. So
up to 14th now, actually, and now chasing down the Ferrari. But the Stain Ferrari is 5 seconds up the road, so he's going to have to push. He's 5.7 seconds behind the number 57 Ferrari in 13th position. 14th position. Is it? Yeah, 13th position. He's in 14th at the moment. As we look at Oliphant now, who's going to be the man on the charge, I'm sure, try and get that position back.
It's actually a nice little battle. I mean, look at the 2 Porsches fighting here, coming side by side for. So these guys are already close. Sure, up front, S has run away with it, but there's good racing from second down to 6th at the moment.
Well, I think we're watching the teammates battle each other out here. We got Claessens. Yes, this is Claessens in. I think to confirm this, are these guys teammates here? Claessens and Jadwat.
Yep, they're teammates.
Okay, so this is the race for position between the 2 teammates.
That's correct, yes.
Taz, racing with teammates, that's the first person you need to beat is your teammate. Jonathan was talking to us earlier how the teammates help with setup. I know you guys would have done that in the Polo Cup days for sure. But you don't give all information, surely.
I don't know. I think I dish out quite a lot of information. Maybe a little bit too much, actually.
Having a look there, these guys, are they going to try and help each other here, Jonathan, or are they going to be battling it out for position? As Bashir has a look down the inside, just as I say that, Bashir has a look down the inside and grabs that position back quite easily. Not much resistance there from Claessens as he slots back into 6th position. But between the 2, Bashir has proven to be the quicker of the 2.
Yeah, we're early in the season, so I don't think there's going to be any sort of love lost right now. They're jostling for number 1 position in the team and set the marker early on.
Yeah, well, so far the marker has been set with Bashir now climbing his way back into 6th position, but he's behind 5th position now, 2 seconds behind the number 4 Oliphant. He's the Oliphant who unfortunately has went down from 2nd to 4th. He's only now those 0.6 of a second behind. Look at this, all of them in picture. I think we're gonna have. I think as we get to the end of the race, we've got 25 minutes left. It's gonna be a close one. At least between the guys from 2nd to 5th place, I do think that Bashir's race pace is going to be enough to get him within striking distance of the 4th place man. Let's see what happens.
Correct me. I mean, those the teammates. Parsons and Jadwat could be on a Discord chat as well. It could have been, listen, I've got quicker pace than you. Let me go and make a run for it, because it didn't look like Quaid really did much to defend going into clubhouse.
No, it was almost like he opened the door a little bit and made it quite easy for him to get up inside.
Yeah, I would imagine so. And I mean, they don't want to be battling each other and taking each other out now. I thought they might try and do a draft setup down here, maybe help each other a little bit, catch up. What are your thoughts on that? Is it possible to gain time in a race if you're racing with a teammate in a car like this around you? Tasman, what do you think?
What other you can do, so you got to kind of.
What it looks like they put the faster driver in front there now, and that's exactly what happened as we cut to Oliphant there in the Porsche, just absolutely flat out through the mine shaft over there on the limit as he goes into the right hand. Now he's chasing down McCall who overtook him earlier on, and McCall was behind him early on, and I think he knows that he's got the pace on McCall. If you look at the way he's caught up so far. You go to the live cam now, beautiful visuals here as we go to the bumper cam on the Porsche.
We never did figure out what happened there, how he dropped those 2 positions, because he just seemed to go over to the side. So he's obviously back on his pace and looks to be the quicker car. But this has helped Jason get a bit of breathing space. You can have
He has a look down the inside there, he has a glance down the inside there, just showing the car in front there that I'm here. and maybe trying to shake him up a little bit. He wasn't actually going to go for that overtake, I don't think, but at least letting the opposition know that there's something to worry about.
Some mirror watching for him.
Yeah.
To the teammates as well, have a look, 2 seconds being pulled out over Claessen's already, so definitely a case of, I think, teams saying, listen, but you quicker, let me through, let me try and chase these guys up ahead. So that's
a fantastic battle, a fantastic battle now unfolding as Jadwat comes into view. Just talking about that teamwork, the two teammates coming into view there, but the battle in front of them is the one that we're watching right now. That is the number 8 Leslie Oliphant. Earlier on, Leslie qualifying really well, but slipping back down to 4th place. Now he's going to try and get the jump on McCall as we look at the bumper cam that just left us. They go down the mine shaft now, all the way down the mine shaft, flat out. It's another flat corner up ahead, and Leslie knows that he's got the pace on McCall. But he does seem to have slipped back ever so slightly now. 0.6 of a second is the gap at this stage. But there's certain sections where he really is able to have a look.
I'm quite surprised that this race is as spread out as it is, because qualifying was pretty close.
Yeah. I think a lot of these guys are so consistent that they're just able to turn those same qualifying times over, even with the added pressure of a race environment.
But you know, Taz, if you look back at Kyalami 9 hour as well, it also spread out quite a bit like this. The guys kind of had these gaps. It was just the rain and chaos that brought everything back together, and everyone finished like so close in the top 10. But it's like, if you look, I mean, the gap isn't massive if you go and look at the top 10. Besides, obviously, the gap from first place, the guys from second down to 10 are all like a second and a half, 2 seconds there. So I suppose also quite tricky drafting a car like this. I know we speak about the era of cars. We don't talk that. You can follow the car, but I suppose that also they do lose a bit of downforce being on each other's arse like this.
Yeah. Look at that. Speaking of which, they are right on top of each other. We just cut away from the battle for 16th place between Albertine and Basson. Also, a similar battle there between the two of them, similar gaps. But the race we're looking at now is the battle for 3rd place, as Oliphant now once again within striking distance. And I think what we're seeing is that Oliphant is getting close, but just making a tiny mistake. And I would imagine he's also seeing Bashir slowly hunting him down in the race.
I'm glad you picked up on that, because have a look at the difference that he's made. Remember, he was sitting behind Claessen's. He's already pulled out 2 seconds over Claessen's, and these two having their battle for 3rd is Bruno Bashir back into it. So I'm expecting this to be a 3-way.
I'm excited. I am very excited for this, because we haven't seen many 3-way battles. We've seen a lot of tussles. But this one is going to be, especially with cars so evenly matched, especially the same type of car. Always Leslie runs a little bit wide there. He is really using all the road now. It's very similar pace, these two. He's able to get close right up behind the Porsche. Early on, he had a look down the inside of turn 1 as McCall goes right up against the wall there, goes inside. Oliphant chasing him down here. What's going to happen as they're going to the first corner? They keep to the right-hand side of the circuit. Ooh, tries to dive down the inside. McCall covers up. And I think Oliphant is just trying to make him a little bit nervous there, and it might be working. He's right up behind him, but both of them are doing well to keep their composure under this high-pressure situation. Look at that, grabbing the apex there, both of them, and all of this is happening while Bashir is chasing him down.
Yeah, I said a lap and a half. He's going to be on them at the end of this lap. It's actually amazing. But Taz, what Ernest said there is actually so spot on. You know, we saw 2 different cars here. If we had an Audi up against a Porsche, there's going to be some places where the one car works better than the other. But to see 2 drivers on it in identical cars makes it really difficult to make the pass happen. You've really got to rely on a little mistake, which is so difficult in these cars these days, because you're not sitting with a manual where you can miss a gear or on a down.
Yeah, it's more like if you run off the track or outbrake yourself. But it can happen when they're under so much pressure. So.
This is a high-stress environment. I'm sure you know all about this with regard to the Polo Cup guys. It's so close for those guys where it's like this for the entire race.
Yeah.
Ooh, he has a look down the inside. Leslie has a look down the inside there, and he gets it so far. Side by side they go now. McCall on the outside of him as they go through the next corner. McCall still got position though. I think McCall might have the advantage through the right hand. McCall cuts across the front of him, and this is the sausage over there, both of them. And now we've got Bashir Jadwan watching all of this take place and thinking to himself, keep going guys, keep going. This is what I need. This is what I need to claw my way back. As Bashir Jadwat comes all the way from the back of the midfield to now what looks like what could be a podium position if he plays his cards right.
Oh, he might as well just sit there and wait for the action to fold in front of him.
And the action continues to unfold as Leslie outbreaks himself, tries to go over there. Overtake maneuver so close now. Bashir, we saw what he did earlier, holding back earlier through the same section, and he manages to get one position back just by biding his time. They're so right there. Tasman, he bided his time there, waited for the moment, and simply snatched that position away. So easy. And now Leslie's taken himself out of the fight, and Bashir Jadwat inserts himself in between the two of them.
Tasman, that's what we saw. That's what I thought would be a great clean in the bowl. That new layout and widening of that section has given so many different lines. The old track, that would have been a pass done and dusted. But
you can go around the outside now, as you saw. So
crazy
stuff indeed. And now
you can go 3 wide there if you wanted to.
We know Leslie's got the pace, and we know McCall.
The only overtaking we're seeing here is through exactly that driver error, where Leslie was like, I'm going for a Hail Mary outbreak. But great driving by Morgan too, seeing him coming, letting him shoot on by and tuning in and still holding the line, you know?
Really beautiful stuff, and all that under immense pressure. And I think Leslie might have just got a bit frustrated there and said, you know what, this is the lap where I'm going to do it. He came from quite far back, and I mean, I'm sure he realized that Bashir was catching him and wanted to do something quickly to get a car between himself and the charging Bashir.
Oh, it's actually a great race to watch. I mean, I think nothing's going to change up front if the guys can just settle into a rhythm now. Jason's got seconds secured, seconds behind the leader, but this little battle with Morgan and Bashir and Leslie has opened up a nice gap of safety there. So this really is the fight for the final podium position, and it's the best racing action on track at the moment.
Amazing.
See what else is going on, because I'm sure there's some good battles all the way through. If you look down the timing sheets, there are little gaps there. You know, it looks like Visaki, back of Quade Claessens as well. So there are battles happening throughout the field, but this is the one for podium.
That's Wesley Ferrand. Earlier on, we saw him battling as well. We thought that was the other car up front, but that is Wesley Ferrand.
The same guys battling it out still.
Yeah, the same guy. Still, the Ferrari's still managing to hold up, but he's actually doing a good job. We thought he was doing a bad job, but he's actually doing a great job as the Porsche now goes wide there and manages to finally get that overtaking maneuver. And now, finally, the 213 Porsche of Ferrand managed to get past. And now he can start extending a lead and hopefully start hunting down some cars up front to get that top 10 position. But as you said, guys, it's amazing. The real battle is happening for that last spot on the podium. And the guys must know that they are all battling for that last spot on the podium, because 1 and 2 are just simply too far up the road, what looks like to be too far up the road at this stage.
I would love to have been on board in car with Mel, because as he went into Sunset, I think he had a massive grab of oversteer, because you saw that car twitched and pulled to the inside, and that's what gave Ferrand that overtake. So I think that was a big dirty or racing overalls moment.
Yeah, and I mean, all that pressure is sustained pressure, lap after lap after lap. As we now cut to Jadwat on the main screen here, that is Oliphant having a look down the inside. Jadwat leaves him a little bit of space there. Is that a mistake? Because he was actually quite far back. Jadwat cuts back across and closes the door once again as he goes across the curb there. Just missing that curb into the left hand and now towards the S's, and Jadwat still in 4th position, but having to defend now, giving McCall the ability to now start to pull up a little gap. And McCall earlier on was under all that pressure. All of a sudden that pressure's been eased off, as the two behind him now have to figure out which one is going to get 4th place.
Oh, it's really exciting racing to watch, because I mean, these guys literally do respect each other's space. They know where the cars are on the track. They give space where they need to give, and that's what makes this really exciting racing to watch. Because that was again a fantastic exchange, a full go at it, giving him enough space, and yeah, good to watch.
Really good to watch, and like you said, these guys are giving each other room, but without giving away too much, which is what we want to see. That's the kind of racing we all love to watch. We want the guys to tussle a little bit, maybe touch here and there, but not take each other out, and that's exactly what we know. I'm just having a look. I've got clearly a love affair with that poor Audi from earlier, and I've had a look. Old Enslin's gone and lost another position. He's dropped back, so he's gone and made a mistake back there. So he's charged back up on the ground to a bit of a halt. We've got a couple of 5-second penalties that have been added to guys. We can chat to Jonathan and maybe find out what that was for.
But it doesn't affect any of our front runners. It's not like in our Pro-Am race, we had a 15-second penalty, and the driver still managed to end up finishing in third.
What a turn of events that was. We saw earlier on, because of the battle happening behind me, that 15 seconds, he managed to use that as a buffer versus a penalty. And somehow managed to pull that 15-second gap just by keeping his cool and letting the guys at the back sort themselves out.
Yeah, it was great. Donnie did a good job in that. But we've seen some fantastic racing. I mean, I was even impressed watching the amateurs. There's some guys that, and with this format, that's what people need to just remember. Next week we're at Silverstone, and on the Saturday everyone's going to have a seeding run again. So guys that are racing pros today, their spot is not booked on the grid for next week. They've got to again seed themselves there. So it really is a carrot that gets dangled for every single one of the drivers to try and find their way up. Guys that were in pro and we could be in pro next weekend. It's fantastic.
For
It's
sure.
a lot of pressure, actually, isn't it? I mean, you might think you're busy racing for the Pro Championship, and at the next round, you might not even make it into the Pro race.
Yeah, exactly. And that was one of the things that I asked about it. It was a concern for me because that really puts a lot of added pressure on the guys, and it can sort of shake things up quite a bit at a point of the championship that could be quite crucial. But then again, that's what we want. We want some drama. We want heroes and villains. We want there to be action. That's what motorsport needs is that sort of action. And especially now when we don't have any motorsport, we've got this, and this is providing plenty drama, plenty action.
But I think it's also, you've got a lot more people that have access to sim racing than people have access to real racing. So very easy to put a grid of 20 cars together, and that's your race for the year. But over here, how do you select just 30 guys for the pro race? I think offering the seeding system, it works really, really well. And we know that they're going to, you can throw away your two worst results in case people have technical issues like computers crashing or whatever might happen. A lot of race series do use that. So this is key. And it's not championship over if you have one bad round.
Exactly. And here we go, the guys. Now, this is the battle for 6th place at least. We've got Claessens there in the number 124 Porsche, followed by the first of the Audis, Versace in the Audi behind there. Grele in the Lamborghini was having a bit of a look-see earlier on. He's now fallen off a little bit. But these three guys were quite tight earlier on, having a look down turn. One was Versace in that Audi. The Audi started to work now quite nicely as he catches up with Bashir's teammate. We saw earlier and give up that position for Bashir. He's going to have a look down the inside here, late on the brakes there by the Audi and coming up all the way on the back of that Porsche. Finally, nice to see two different manufacturers battling it out for a change.
Actually, three here.
Yeah, exactly.
Not just Porsche guys.
It's not the same race. It looks like it's a different category of racing, but it looks like
this Porsche does look like it's struggling a little bit more than Audi.
I think so. Audi looks very composed.
Ono looking good, and then Johannes Kralen behind in that Lamborghini as well. So I think this is great results. We said, having other manufacturers, this might not be their best race now. But Jonathan was saying, the Audi's good for a consistent long race, and that seems to be the pace we're seeing now. So they pick up some good points here. Silverstone's next. Interesting.
It's been 40 minutes of racing so far. As the Audi has another look down the inside, just letting him know that he's there. These guys are so on the limit when it comes to braking that nobody's dive bombing anybody simply because the car in front is just absolutely on the ragged edge and there's not enough time or space to be able to get that late braking maneuver. The other guys are already braking so late in the first place. Here they come now.
What do you think of that move? You see what I mean? It's like it's not moving under braking, it's just deciding to take an early turn. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think everyone is just different, and it just depends. We obviously didn't see an onboard footage of that, and you can change under brakes, but it's sort of something that's the way you do every corner sort of thing, where that I thought was a little bit more.
But I'm talking about what happened now into turn one. He's done it.
That was fun. I think that's probably his line every single lap if we had to watch the next lap again, and I think that's exactly how he takes that corner.
Well, the Audi's got the run in him here. I think the Audi might have the run in him down the hill. Audi now right up behind their Porsche, but does he have the pace? As they go through the mine shaft now, coming up to the right-hander here. Will the Audi be able to make a move? He goes around the outside. He's going to try and tuck it in as they come through. Keeps it wide in the outside. We are on board now with Versace and Klaasen's battling it out here. Versace right on the bumper of that Porsche there. They go through the right-hander now. The last left-hander coming up before the start-finish. We've got 7 minutes of racing left. And he's going to try and get past. This is for 6th position. And the Audi, the Porsche, a little bit understeer through the corner there. Look at the pace on the straights of this Porsche. I think the Porsche's got a bit of extra legs down the straight.
Oh, look, I mean, I think he'll do the exact same move again. I don't think that's wrong. I think it's his defensive line through.
Oh, the Audi, he sells him the dummy, goes down the inside, gets the position, sells him the dummy there, he buys it. And the Audi gets past. A beautiful job there from Versace and the only Audi in the top 10 as the Lamborghini now also has a look. And the Audi goes defensive and no! He crashes. Oh my goodness, the Audi of Versace takes out Klaasen's as well. And oh my goodness me, he takes them both out in what was clearly a racing incident. They're pushing a little bit too hard, goes over the curbs. And Jonathan, you were saying earlier on, these Audis, they're composed until they're not.
Yeah, that was him pushing to the ragged edge, and Quaid was coming back at him there. And he was stressing.
He have a look how much curb he took on that inside.
He took way too much curb.
Yeah, and that just unsettled the car, put him into a snap oversteer, and that was him. Cheers, done. What a pity after doing such a great move to get that position done.
Quite just a bystander with that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Klaasen's getting tangled up there. I mean, it's one thing to get overtaken, but it's quite another thing to get taken out. And unfortunately now, all the way down the order, all of them go. And I think that Lamborghini came off best out of all of them. Kralin there in the Lambo, now in 6th position by the looks of things. We need to wait for the official classification. As Issa.
And you're a little yard behind, like all the chaos happens in front of you, you can just beautifully avoid it.
Oh, that's the best. I had one of those moments in my last race, and it's just beautiful. You just thread your way through the needle and and wave them goodbye as the other guys crash into each other. But you don't wish bad luck on anyone, but if it does happen, it's like, well, it wasn't me, and I'm just going to go take my position. And that's exactly what the Lamborghini driver did, managed to get that one back there. And now the order being shuffled up quite a bit.
Solid drive by Zahiris. I mean, he's literally dominated from the start, 16-second gap. And equally impressive has been Jason. I mean, the two of them are literally just putting in actually like a super quali session. Yeah, they're just putting in lap after lap after lap, not having to worry about any competitors, just having to worry about their car on the track.
And Issa seems like the kind of guy that doesn't really get fazed by this kind of pressure. He's used to being up front. He's used to being alone. He hasn't made that many mistakes. But
I think that's his comfort zone, isn't it? Like he's not being bothered by anyone else. He can do lap after lap, same pace, and he's just checking out.
And that really depends on the psyche of the driver, doesn't it, Tasman? Depends on the kind of driver that you're on. He seems to be very comfortable up front.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously not one of, well, we don't know yet, but he obviously prefers being in the front of the pack, and I'm the same. I like being away from any action. I can just do my own thing,
Look at how easily that Ferrari got past Klaasen's over there. Steyn getting past Klaasen's, and I think Klaasen's definitely got some damage there. He's now dropping way off the pace, and easily does that Ferrari get past him there. And also the Ferrari also now having a look at the Henneberry car, number 12, Porsche up front there as well.
I think, Daz, I mean, everyone wants to lead up front and not have to worry about looking in their mirrors. I think that's where we all want to be, That comes from nailing a good qualifying, then making sure you nail the start as well, and it's good to go. You make a mistake and you find yourself mid-pack and it's chaos. And before you wipe your eyes, the leader's 15 seconds up the road,
Yeah, and there's no catching him.
Yeah, there isn't, not at this stage. He's not going to make any mistakes. And by the looks of things, 3 minutes of racing left. And Bashir Jadwat in 4th position at the moment, by the looks of things. We can cut to him. I'd like to see what he's doing at the moment. There we go. That is him there. He's right behind. How did he get there? How did Bashir get behind 3rd place now? Him and McCall battling for 3rd place. Bashir Jadwat qualifying way down the order. I think he was about 7th or 8th in the qualifying, if I'm not mistaken.
But Ernest, this battle's been going on for ages, and Bashir hasn't been able to actually do anything to Morgan. If you think about it, remember they came to this position a couple of laps ago, and he's just
Yes.
stayed status quo, lap after lap after lap. So Morgan's doing a great job securing his third position here.
Well, here we go. This is the final couple of laps now. They've probably got about 2 laps to go, if that. And this is going to be Bashir's chance now. He's going to try and get that last spot on the podium. 4th place at the moment. But these guys are so evenly matched further down the field. The midfield guys are so evenly matched here. As they go into the first corner, Bashir now again, as you say, within striking distance. He's been here for a while, but can he do something? Can he make that move? Oliphant now in 5th place. Not too shabby from him. After earlier on making a mistake and losing our 2 positions, he's now in 5th place. Grayling in 6th in the Lamborghini, who wasn't even in the top 10 early on, is now in 6th position.
I have so much respect, and I think about this. 6 laps, 28 laps on now. Start just thinking about the guys that are doing the 9-hour, 24-hour type races. Guys are double stinting, so they like an hour and a half in the car. It's been crazy to be concentrating.
And they flat out every single lap.
It's insane. It's insane. I was watching a documentary on Thomas Christensen's first Le Mans. I think he did the triple stint, if I'm not mistaken. Either for 3 or 4 stints, 2 hours each. Can you imagine?
Imagine the concentration though for that long.
The level of concentration and not one mistake allowed. Driving through the night in a car, it's not nearly as composed as these cars these days.
And doing quali laps, lap after lap.
Look, I mean, all of that's been changed now in terms of time spent behind the wheel for the sake. But it's just incredible. All you got to go and do is watch like the Nürburgring 24-hour, and you've got cars that are doing 180 k's now, and cars that are doing 300. You've got 100 cars on the grid.
Just think, so nerve-wracking. So nerve-wracking.
You've driven Neuschleifer. It's so easy to have that little, I'm going to use the word brain fart. You're going, is this one?
Speaking of that, is number 3 McCall going to do that now? Give it away on the last lap. This could be the last lap now. This is for 3rd place. Bashir now really getting up close and personal now with that number 19 Porsche in 3rd position of McCall there.
McCall is our race leader, so coming up to the top of Leeuwkop. So this is definitely going to be checkered flag. So this is important for Morgan to go to. But what a nice battle for final podium spots.
It's still great to see the racing happening all the way to the finish line, Marius. It's what we came to see today. And I can imagine Morgan is thinking to himself, just one more lap. Just one more lap. Keep it together. Keep it together, Morgan.
It's more like don't outbreak yourself. Don't outbreak yourself. Don't outbreak yourself.
Oh, Bashir having a look down the inside. Now they go down the mine shaft. And Bashir trying to show him that he's there all the way to the edge of that curve. Now here comes the mine shaft. This will be the last time they're going through here as that is Essa crossing the line. Essa takes the win, but the action continues here in 3rd place. Oh, Bashir has a look down the inside. But is it going to be enough? It's not. And McCall keeps that 3rd position as they go through the final section here. I think McCall might have done enough. He's just got to make sure he doesn't make a mistake into the final left-hander this time. I've got to get that right. I've got to get my left and my right correct for the following heat. McCall goes to the inside there, cuts across the track and gets 3rd position. Judward comes in 4th place. Oliphant slots into 5th position. Guys, what a race this has been.
Sorry to the race fans. I mean, we didn't even see our winners there. Essa crossing the line or Jason Absmeyer in 2nd position. Because that battle for 3rd place was just so flippin' dynamic. And that's what people have come to see, racing the way through. Awesome.
And here comes the Ferrari now. Also another close race there as the first of the Ferraris comes through. Whew. I don't know about you guys, but I'm trying to keep my breath together.
Way too much excitement.
Yeah, way too much excitement. Folks, stay away from the wall. Folks, that's it for this race. We're going to be right back after the break.
Let me into my zone. Let me into my zone. Let me into my zone. Please don't let me. Ask him now what's changing. I've been going to the top and I got what I So I keep what I'm doing cause I own that. And I stay in the lab and I kill everything, but I don't ever move from my code. So finally back in my home. I'm working like so much. That's why I had me a clone. Dance my soul now, just leave it there in that zone. Ballin' can't keep me up cause I'm back in my zone now.
Having a great scrap and almost banging wheels.
Cause I'm back in my zone now.
And we're back. There you have it, folks. In third position, a sterling drive from him there to defend up until the line. 1 or 2 more laps and it could have been over. He did well to defend there. Morgan McCall in third position. I know you were enjoying his racing there. Marius, I know you were enjoying his performance. What do you think of the young Morgan there?
Listen, that was great because that's massive pressure with 1 lap to go. So easy, like Tasman was saying. All you're actually thinking about is don't miss my braking marker. And Jadwat had a proper run at him through the mine shaft, and he kept his cool and got the job done. So that was really, really great driving. But I mean, Jason Absmeyer in second and Zaid Essa, these guys were class acts.
Unbelievable. Before I get to Zaid Essa, what's his name? Sorry, I missed his name there. The guy from Ghostworks doing very, very well there. Jadwat doing very well to just miss out on that podium, but McCall holding him off there. Absmeyer, as you say, in second position. But the man of the moment, untouchable, Essa. I mean, he made that battle for first place boring. He was out on his own. We didn't even put the camera on him because he outclassed the 1%ers.
I think it was 18 seconds, so that,
I don't think we ever saw him. He was so far ahead.
It's insane to think that in a class of guys that are all this good, he is still head and shoulders above those guys. It's unbelievable, really.
It's a long season. So I mean, you want to start off like this. So credit, but the guys now need to refocus because next week is Silverstone. The first job isn't the race; it's Saturday and making sure that you get yourself seeded through. Most of these are pretty safe. But as when we saw some guys in the Pro-Am class that were running amazing pace, really good time. So I'm sure those guys want to make sure that they through, especially like the winner, Jason Isherwood. You expect to see him in the Pro class next week.
Yeah, I think there's going to be quite a few changes up in the Pro class at Silverstone. So,
where do you think psychologically this puts Essa, and where do you think it puts his team, or at least the competition now, Tasman? Because he's got a big enough gap going into the second race, but the other guys, they must have their eye on him, going, "I'm going to take this guy down in the next race."
Yeah, I mean, Essa, he's got it all to lose now, isn't it? Everyone else has something to gain.
Yeah.
So I think he just needs to stay as composed as possible going into the next event. He knows he has the pace above everyone else, but you never know what his pace is around Silverstone. So
exactly.
I think everyone else has got a lot more work to do, where Essa, he can't really stop working still because everyone knows where they need to aim for, and he's kind of got to move that margin again at the next round.
Yeah, he's got a target on his back now, big time.
Cool. Taz, just when I look at that, just look at the way he drove. You know that he's a class driver. He's not going to have a hassle at any of the circuits. And the nature of sim racing was always to learn other tracks. So Gary, they've all spent plenty of time in those. So I don't expect to see a big shake-up. He's going to be quick at Silverstone for sure. It's just about what can the other drivers do to find that pace.
Well, let's have a look at those standings now. The championship is getting decided from round 1. This is what it looks like at the moment with Zaid Essa right up there, but it's only 3 points in it between him and Jason Absmeyer in second position there. That's 45 to 42. The points difference in the way the points are tallied up is not that big. So even McCall, even Jadwat, just 7 points behind the top spot, Essa over there. This season is only just getting started. Essa there with 45 points in the lead. But Marius, what are your thoughts here? We've got the points gap. It's not that big. It's not like older series where you've got like 100-point lead on a race. It's 3-2 points here. That means everybody's still got a chance.
That's why I went wow, because normally it'd be like a 10, maybe drop down to 6 or whatever the points might be. So it's not over and done because you have one bad race. And I mentioned earlier, you get those 2 races you can throw away. So I think it's really going to be very interesting. This is about being consistent. scoring points in every single race, because those throwaway 2 races are going to make a massive difference.
Yeah.
Point margin isn't big for a race win, so everyone's still in it.
And I mean, as you said, can't throw anything away. Enslin, unfortunately, quite far down the grid. Heineke quite far down the grid. The Ritz as well, also making mistakes, and they're going to be kicking themselves because they've lost out on precious points. And that's exactly what the front running guys are going to try and do, is keep as many points as possible as the season progresses, because as you say, it's going to be someone that's consistent over the entire 12 rounds that's going to be the one that's triumphant at the end of the year.
No, it's all about scoring points at every race, isn't it? You can't have one good race and then not score any points at the next event. So I think consistency is key for the end of the championship.
That's definitely something. I mean, there's a difference between a flying lap pace, race pace, and then championship pace. And that's what Zaire is going to want to do. He's going to want to make sure that he's got that championship pace going into the next round, which is, of course, Silverstone in the UK. And as we were joking earlier on, I wonder if it's going to rain there. The game does factor that in. I'm kind of hoping for a wet race. I don't want to jinx it, but I'm kind of hoping for a wet race. What do you guys think?
Well, at the end of the day, I mean, everyone has always known that saying, the real class will rise to the top when it's wet conditions. So
equalizer, isn't it?
I think we need to have a wet race. There will be one for sure. Silverstone might be a bit obvious. Maybe they'll throw a curveball, a track that no one expects to be wet. But yeah, we're going to definitely have that, because I think that is an overall driver needs to be able to be fast in the rain.
Well, folks, that is it from us for now. Thank you so much for joining us for the ATK Pro Series for 2020. Congratulations to our winners, Zahir Essa, our second place man, Ashmeyer, and our third place man, McCall. This was brought to you by Kyalami 9-Hour, MSA, and of course, Assetto Corsa Competizione. Let me see if I can get that right. We'll see you guys at the next round. Thanks again for joining us. My name is Ernest Page, joined by Marius Roberts, Tasman Pepper, and our man, Jonathan Bence. We'll see you guys next time. Until then, goodbye.
Please don't let me into my zone. 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 Please don't let me Telling you now this payback. Ask him now what's changing. I've been going to the top and I got what they not, so I know that they hate that. But I'm on that. All these lanes in the zone now. And all these lanes gonna take what I did and they twist and they work till I fall out. But I know that, so I keep what I'm doing cause I own that. And I stay in the lab and I kill everything, but I don't ever move from a Kodak. So finally back in my home. I'm working like so much, that's why I had me a clown. It's my phone now, just leave it there, that's home. Ballin' can't keep me up cause I'm back in my zone now.
Having a great scrap and almost